What's going on, guys? I'm going to make a quick video on my newer EDC light. It's an Olight M1X Striker. I picked this light up about a month ago, and I'm one of those guys that has a primary light and a backup light on me every single day, literally every single day. If I go on runs, if I'm exercising, if I'm sweating, whatever it is that I'm doing, I have a light on me, at least one. This happens to be that light. It recently replaced my M1X PD32 light, which I've had on me faithfully for at least, I'd say, 5 years. Before that. I still have that light. It's an awesome light. I love that light. It's been kind of designated as my bag light now in my go bag. Anyways, we'll just jump right into it. I wanted a light that was very similar to my M1X PD32 in a lot of ways. I wanted something, for me, it's really important to have an 18650 cell light as my primary, just because they seem to be able to get brighter in the run times, or really potentially very extensive on 18650 cells. I've just had really good experiences with them. Almost all of my lights run on 18650 cells. So this little guy, like the PD32, runs on a single 18650 cell. It's got multiple different outputs, ranging from its moonlight mode, which for this particular Olight is just a half lumen, all the way up to 1000 lumens is what it's rated for. And it does have a step down feature as well. So I believe, according to the box, it was 1000 lumens for 5 minutes, and then it will cool down to about 550, I think it is, for the remaining 55 minutes to give you that total hour. I haven't tested that. I don't ever leave my lights in full, turbo mode and max mode for extended periods of time. I only use it when I really need it. I know that that kind of stuff can potentially be harder on the light, and that's why they heat up and stuff. So I really only use it when I need it. Most of the time I use moonlight mode. A few cool things about the light that I do like, just to go into the features real quick. Obviously, there are a total of 6 modes on this light. It is tail cap activated, and you got a side switch as well. In order to put it into the moonlight mode, you actually have to click the side switch before the light's even on, and then press the tail cap in all the way, and you'll get the moonlight mode function. If you do not activate moonlight mode like that, and it's not already stored in your memory as the previously used output, then it's impossible to get into moonlight mode. It will start you at its next lowest mode, which is this mode right here. Then with the light on, if you continue to click the side cap only, not the tail cap, but the side switch, you can go all the way up to its full 1000 lumens, and then we'll take you back down to the amount of lumens. I can't remember. I have the box upstairs, guys, and I'm not going to dig it out, I'm sorry. Plenty bright enough, but definitely brighter than moonlight mode. Again, the only way to get back into moonlight mode is to physically turn the light off, press in the side cap switch, and then press in the tail cap. Now, once it's in moonlight mode, if I turn this light off, it'll still memorize moonlight mode. So I'm still in moonlight mode now. It also has a strobe mode as well. So for mini mode, when the light is on, it's in moonlight again. If you click and you hold the side switch, then you'll get a seriously nice strobe. I believe that's at the full 1000 lumens. And then if you press the side cap again, the way I just did, it'll return back to its previous mode. Again, that's moonlight mode. One thing that I really like about Olight in general is that they have really simple user interfaces. I really enjoy being able to have a moonlight mode and then being able to jump directly into maximum output mode in the event that I need to. Whether it's an emergency with, I don't know, a weather emergency, or if it's a danger, if it's a threat emergency. There have been times when I've gone on runs and been out in the wilderness before when I've actually used my lights to scare off animals that I thought were a little too close to me. So in order to activate, in order to go directly from moonlight mode or any mode that you might have into maximum output mode, it's really simple on this guy. You go to the tail cap, and all you do is a light double press, so you're not clicking it in all the way. It does have momentary on. So if I just click and hold the momentary on, it's going to hold on the last memorized mode. In this case, again, it's moonlight. If I give it 2 taps, it's going to go straight into turbo mode. I never touch the side cap. I only use the tail cap. And the cool thing is I can get into a defensive strobe mode as well by clicking the tail cap a series of 3 times. So 1, 2, 3, and now it's automatically in the strobe mode. If you train with something like this, then you can get pretty comfortable with it. I like the pocket clip as well. The pocket clip sits pretty deep in the pocket, and I just like the color black too on it. I think it looks really, really awesome. The button itself, I've mentioned in a previous video, it's really smooth and flat, and to be honest, it's a little difficult to find in the dark, especially if you have gloves on. It's just not going to happen. So what I always like to do on all my lights is I take the pocket clip and I always point it. They all swivel around, and I always put it in a position that is aligned directly with the light, so that in darkness I can just follow my clip down and I know I'm on the button. That's one thing that I really like to do. You can see that it's got the heat fins in it here to help, cooling off when you are in some of those higher output modes, but I'm sure it helps even in some of the lower output modes as well. You've got a super crenellated bezel. I'm sure that this bezel is the reason why it's named the Striker. Obviously, you can use this as a physical weapon as well, as a blinding device too in a situation like that. God forbid you ever find yourself in one. There are just a couple things about this light that I wish were a little different, and I'm sure that everyone's going to feel different about this. I do like the light very much, but if it were designed just for me, two things that I would change with this light. In fact, probably three things overall. One of them is that the knurling on it. You've got checkering all on the body. You've got it on the tail cap, you've got it on the body itself, but there is no friction to the knurling at all. It is strictly designed. I mean, this is one of the slickest lights I have ever used. Going from a PD32 or something like an Ace Beam EC35 light, those of you who own those lights, you'll know really quick that it's almost like grabbing G10 grip on those. I mean, if I buried my hand in oil and grabbed the light, it's not going anywhere. Someone couldn't pull it out of my hand. On the M1X Striker, the knurling is truly cosmetic. I mean, I wouldn't even call it knurling. It's just really a sketched pattern in the aluminum body of this light. So that's one thing that could definitely use improvement, in my opinion. Again, I'm sure some people love it being smooth. I'm sure it has its advantages. It doesn't stick nearly as hard, especially on denim and stuff like that when you're pulling the light out. So that's just my preference. The other thing, and I noticed this pretty instantly on the light, and again, I'm really comparing it to a light that I grew very accustomed to over 5 years, so maybe this isn't a really fair comparison, but the tail cap on the Olight M1X Striker, to me, it's not near as sensitive. If any of y'all are into shooting at all, particularly firearms, the trigger makes a huge difference, and where that break point is and where the travel is, all that plays a key role in accuracy. Well, it's kind of somewhat similar with the tail cap of a flashlight for me. With a Phoenix, with the PD32, my tail cap, the pressure was always right on the button, literally. So if I applied even the slightest bit of pressure, then it was going to trigger the light to be on. There's quite a bit of travel in the Olight tail caps. It feels like there's a pocket of air in between the tail cap and the actual switch underneath. And that's something that I've noticed when I've tried to get into strobe mode or to the highest output in a hurry. It's something that I've missed several times, because I'm not tapping it correctly. I'm not pressing enough on the tail cap. The other thing too is that in between trying to switch outputs from the tail cap alone, I've messed up I don't know how many times now and gotten it to the point where I might do a momentary on, but then because I've released just a little bit of pressure to the point where I couldn't even pick it up with my finger, it would turn the light off. So that's another thing that I think I would really like to see improved. And finally, we're going to have some beam shots at the end of this video. And, for me, the bezel is so aggressive on this light that when you throw the light out, when you have it on, especially in the higher output modes, it's very obvious. You can see the crown in your spill. And depending on how far out you're trying to see, you can eliminate a lot of light real estate because of how crenellated this bezel is. Not that this is something that you'd want to spot something at 600 yards with. Obviously it wasn't designed for that. So for its purpose, I want to make it very clear, I think this is one of the best lights on the market possibly. And I really like this light. I'm just nitpicking right now. And then the beam itself, and this doesn't have anything to do with the crenellated bezel, but just the beam itself, and you'll see in the video I'm sure, it's extremely floody. And even though the candela on this light, the intensity of this light is greater than the intensity on my PD32, the PD32 had, in the EC35, lights like that have very distinct hot spots. They look like as close to perfect circles as you can possibly get before the spill comes in. And I've grown very accustomed to beams like that. This light, I have noticed, it's difficult for me, even at 25 and 30 yards, to spot any kind of hot spot at all. The beam itself seems extremely floody, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of people are going to prefer that. For me, though, I've just grown accustomed to the really hot spots before the spill. So having said that, I'll go ahead and we'll do some beam shots now, just to give you an idea of what the beam looks like. Overall, I think it's a fantastic light. I think its floodiness is great too. It might just not be my preference, but it's a wonderful light. So let's go ahead and check the beam shots out now. Hey guys, I know y'all can't see me right now. I'm standing out in the dark. Let's go inside. Hey guys, y'all couldn't see me before, so I'm going to go ahead and move inside just a little bit and stand in the doorway of my house and use a reference tree as a point to show y'all just what kind of beam the M1X puts out. So we're going to move in just for a little bit. Alright, so just standing in the doorway. It's actually raining outside, sorry guys, so I'm not able to be out there right now. Even though this is IPX8, obviously, but it's starting to come down a little bit harder, so I'm going to make this quick. I'm just going to real quickly, there is a tree line out there, probably about 50 yards away. I just want to show you how well it's lit up here. I'm going to jump straight into the maximum mode. You'll probably catch a lot of the rain in there as well. It clearly lights up the entire tree out there. And I'm going to slowly bring the beam down. You can tell even as I'm bringing it closer that there's no clear hotspot. I mean, the entire thing is spill. It just goes from really bright to slightly dimmer. And again, I think that a lot of people will like that, and I like it too. I just think in a defensive light, I would prefer to have a slightly more central and focused hotspot. But that's the M1X in a nutshell, guys. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. There are other videos on several of my other lights as well, and there are more coming. So like and subscribe if you like this kind of stuff. If there are other lights that you're interested in, let me know. If I can get my hands on it, I'd love to make a video on it for you guys. Thanks so much. Stay safe. God bless.